Today we're going to be talking about the condo market here in Florida. And in particular, we're going to focus on Southwest Florida. And we're going to be talking about the condo market and whether or not it's a market you even want to get into. So you own a condo here in Florida and you are asking yourself, like so many other people that own a condo here in Florida, is my condo completely worthless? We're going to talk about that today because let me tell you, there is definitely a bit of what I would almost call panic going on amongst condo owners, and with good reason. I don't think it's exaggerated at all. You know, this morning I was having my coffee. I'm on black coffee number 3 every day, by the way, because I know a lot of you like to focus in on what's behind me. So I'll just tell you that's a painting that I did. You probably see paints over there on the table. A lot of times, many of you will get focused on what is behind me. So in the mornings before I film, I have black coffee, usually 2 cups. I take one of my daily vitamins, which I've talked to you about before, because yes, you are correct, I cannot swallow a pill, especially not one of those giant vitamins. So this is like a cookie bite. I love these. I link these for you in the description box because, believe it or not, some of you will say, you know what? Not that we were talking about it. We were talking about real estate, but I can't swallow a pill either. So I'll link those for you with a discount because I get a good discount on those. But that's what I do in the mornings. I will get caught up on the news, have my coffee before I film. And this morning I was watching something where they were talking about as much as 80% of condominiums on the market in Florida, not even on the market, in the market, I should say. 80% of condominiums, according to the news today, are essentially worthless. Like, you can't keep them, you can't sell them, what are you going to do with them? So I thought that would be an interesting deep dive this morning because I've got a lot of data on condos. That's what I like to do, is look up all these details, see if, you know, what's being put out there as hyperbole has any reality to it. And I've got to tell you, as it relates to condominiums, there's a lot of truth to what is being spoken out there through the media right now. So we're going to dive into that. Now, before we jump into that, I want to give you a little bit of data because this did just come in. I'm looking at the article here in front of me. So in Q3 of 2024, I want to give you an update in terms of which cities across the U.S., and also 2 of them are in Florida, have had the most price cuts. So I'm going to start with the one that's had the most, and then we'll go ahead and do the top 10. So across the U.S., the city that's had the most price cuts is Denver, Colorado at 42.9%. So almost half of the properties, this is condos and homes, almost half of them have had price cuts. Then Colorado Springs at 40.2%. Dallas at 38.9, and then the next several here that I'm going to give you, these are all within 5% of each other, so these are all going to be mid 30s, so basically 35 to 40% of, if it's on the market, it's had a price cut. So we went from Dallas as number 3. Next one is Huntsville, Alabama, Austin, Texas, Tampa, which I've talked about Tampa a lot. Tampa is really getting hit hard. So Tampa at 37.9. Phoenix is the next one. Next one in Florida is Jacksonville. So Jacksonville went up quickly and it's coming down quickly. Even St. Johns County, which is really desirable. A lot of people love St. Johns County. You're seeing price cuts all over the place. Many of you have asked me to do a deep dive in St. Johns County. And you know, every time I get into that, I kind of find the same thing, which is that it's following the trends of everywhere else, with a little bit of an exception, because St. Johns County tends to run more primary home market than secondary home market. So you don't have as many snowbirds there. Do you have them? Yes, but you don't have as many. It's kind of known for great schools. So it's a great community for a primary home market. So it's really not being hit comparatively to the coastal cities that we usually talk about. And that's why, just as an aside, why I kind of haven't done a deep dive, because it's kind of trending the way that it normally would trend. You're seeing a little bit of a decline, but it's running pretty consistent with the rest of the US. So Jacksonville, that's number 8, and then Indianapolis and Ogden, Utah. Those are the top 10 right now in Q3 of 2024 in terms of price cuts. So let's jump back into our condos. Now listen, if you're new to the channel, I want to say hi. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for over 26 years. So hopefully I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate all of this. I want to be your friend here in real estate so that you have someone you can trust. And if you need to do a deep dive into your own personal situation, I always say, if you're a year out, 3 years out, 5 years out, a lot of times it's hard to get anybody to talk to you with any honest, actionable, reliable information. You can pick up the phone and call Joe Real Estate Agent, but they don't know you. And if they think you're going to maybe potentially buy something a year from now, listen, you're going to get advice that's consistent with that. They're going to see nothing in the value of taking that call. I'm just being honest with you. So what I do is consultations, and we spend at least 40 minutes. We do a deep dive into what you're looking to do. Most of the people that I'm talking to are 6 months out, maybe a year out. I've even talked to folks that are 3 years out. And every now and again, I have somebody that's ready to go right now. So if you're interested in doing just a deep dive into your personal situation, I do offer consultations. I will leave it right here and link it down below. So as it relates to condos, how are things looking? Well, here's the biggest problem. So based upon the Surfside collapse that happened a couple years ago, which was an enormous tragedy in the Miami-Dade area, so what happened was things really started to get looked at in terms of condominiums, and insurance companies kind of started to realize that, hey, you know what? There hasn't been a structural engineer's report done on this building since it was built in 1947. What's being required is a structural engineer's report. It is not cheap. The people that own in the building are going to pay for it. That's coming out of reserves. And what's happening is, as these studies are being done and as things are failing in terms of, what was code in 1950 is not code now. So they're making people sort of retrofit to what things are now for safety because they ignored it. They just let it get loose. Decade after decade, things got loose. And so now condominium complexes are being put in a position where they don't have enough money in reserves to rebuild elevator shafts and make them wide enough. I can tell you a couple horror stories, particularly out of Naples. There's a couple communities that are in the downtown Naples area that two things, the stairwell is not wide enough to get somebody, God forbid, somebody has a heart attack and you've got a gurney and there is no elevator, and you have to navigate somebody down the turning stairwell, and it's not wide enough to get that down the stairwell, that's a big problem. That happened to someone in Naples. You're talking about 5 minutes longer or needing to go get different equipment to help somebody. It's a big deal. The other thing is the elevators. So they discovered in some of these older communities in Naples, like in the downtown Naples area, in the condominiums, that in the elevators, they're not big enough to even get the gurney into the elevator to get somebody down the elevator. So lots of things that have to be retrofit. And, that's not even having a discussion about the way that the roof pitches can be wrong now, the roof material itself, the tie downs, impact resistant doors and windows. There's so much outside of just what's considered what you would think of as structure that needs to be reevaluated, rebuilt, reconstructed. And if you are in a condominium, that tab is on you, and there is nothing you can do about it. There are many communities up in Sarasota, over in Miami, especially in Miami. Aventura is another one that's getting hit really hard. Naples area, the assessments are huge. I have heard $75,000, $125,000 per unit. And even if that's done at 0% interest, it's still going to increase you. You might have just been making it at $600 a month and you figured out a way to make that work in retirement. But if that number goes to $1,200 or $1,300, there's no way. You just can't do it. And that is what's happening to people right now. So I'd like to give you real life examples. There is a community in Naples that several years ago, the community is called the Glades. Several years ago, they had a very significant problem all of a sudden with many of the lanais. Think of a lanai as like a screened-in porch on a condo. So many of the lanais were failing. And so you might be on your second floor sitting on your lanai, and the one directly above you, which is concrete, was falling in. So they did have a scenario where people had the above lanai start to fall in. So those are significant problems that are starting to happen in some of these older condos. Now I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want you to be looking up and thinking you're hearing cracking, but those are the issues that have started to come up, and those are the things that are causing these enormous assessments. So what do? You can't move, you can't stay, the value is completely out of whack, you can't afford it. Well, this is why you're seeing such an enormous increase in condominiums going on the market and foreclosures on condominiums in the market. So let's go back to what we talked about at the beginning of this video, Tampa and Jacksonville. So these might be places that if you were considering either one of those cities, or maybe you're an investor and you want to buy a couple condominiums, maybe you should be considering those cities because there are so many properties that are taking price cuts and so many properties that are on the market. All right, now you may be thinking, okay, Barrett, are you telling me don't buy a condo? I should not be in the market for a condo? No, I am not saying that. In fact, I might be saying the exact opposite. So do you think you have a motivated seller in somebody that owns one of those condos? And listen, nobody's trying to take advantage of anybody's bad situation, but you have to look at it this way. You might actually be the solution to their bad situation, because there's a lot of people that just want to get out from under. Maybe they don't even have a mortgage on the condo. Maybe they bought it when it was $75,000 in 1958 and they just want to sell and move on with their life. They're not worried about getting every nickel, dime, penny. They just want an offer so they can move forward. So it could be a very good time for you to buy, because you do have a whole lot of motivated sellers out there. But what I would say is it's enormously important that you work with an agent that understands how all of this works, because there is no such thing as I didn't know. Unless somebody blatantly lied to you, there is no such thing as I didn't know. So you have to work with somebody that's going to layer in these contingencies for you to be able to exit if you hear something that you don't like. And we always make sure that you're reviewing everything, not just the rules and regulations, not just the indentures, not just that. You also need to see the financials and make sure that you're comfortable with the surplus. So you'll see that. We can look at that and we can see how much money they have sitting around for a future problem, because you're going to own this condo for a while. So those are all things that are very, very important. Now, I would say I would definitely think long and hard before I bought one that was really getting into that aged status. So something that, maybe it's on Siesta Key and it's a beautiful location. You're really close to the water. So if you're really close to the water, the insurance is going to be high for the entire complex, which is going to ensure that your HOA fee is high and probably will continue to do nothing but go up, because that's just going to become more and more expensive. So if you look at that and you even say, okay, but I'm all right with it, but then you also notice that, all the paving on the parking lot looks like it's cracking. The curbs are not in great condition. You notice that the stairwell is narrow. You notice that the elevator maybe needs a little updating, just based on, you can tell because you're in there and there's no AC in there and it feels a little tight to you. Pay attention to all this, because that is money that you're going to spend in the future. It truly is. Now, there are newer condos that are modern. You have impact-resistant doors and windows. You have wide stairwells. You have beautiful air-conditioned elevators. You can see that they're being maintained properly. There's all kinds of amenities. It's a very active community. You know that things are being used constantly. Every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, people are up and down that elevator. Lots of nice amenities within the community. That's a different scenario when something is newer and modern and up to date and very resort feeling. That is something you can feel a whole lot better with. But you know what you get to take advantage of is the fact that it's being spread. To some degree, if you say it enough, it's going to happen. And everybody is saying the condo market is terrible in Florida. And yes, overall it is, but when you really get into the minutia of things and you break down what's not good and what is good, you can take advantage of sort of that painting with a broad stroke and maybe get a better deal for yourself. So I always say to folks, look for the ones that are newer. If you can find something with the high ceilings, like I said, impact resistant doors and windows, the likelihood that you're going to have a problem getting it insured is much, much less. Now, if you have a condo in Florida and you're one of those folks that got hit with one of those enormous assessments, we have strategies for you. So I just want you to know that. I don't want you to feel like you're out there on an island and no one can help you. Is it tricky? Yes, but we have strategies for that because it's coming up often. So I don't want you to feel like you're stuck and there's nobody out there that can help you, because that is not true. So I would just say, if you're in the market for a condo, is it tough? Yes. Are 80% of the condos worthless? Absolutely not. I just think that's a crazy thing to be putting out there. But I will say that reality is what it is, and you do have to be careful about what you buy.